The 21st Annual First Coast Infectious Disease Clinical Microbiology Symposium will be taking place on February 14 and 15 in Jacksonville, Florida. Joining me on the phone to talk about the upcoming symposium is Dr. Diane Halstead. Dr. Halstead is the president and co-chair of the First Coast Symposium. Good morning, Dr. Halstead, and thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
You bet. Before we get into the details of this year's symposium, what is the First Coast Infectious Disease Clinical Micro Symposium, and how did it get started?
Well, in 1993, a group of microbiologists in the Jacksonville area met to explore the possibility of developing a symposium. It was under the leadership of Dr. Stephen Jenkins. And in 1994, we had our First Coast Infectious Disease Clinical Microbiology Symposium. And subsequently, each year since then, we have had an annual meeting. And it was triggered by a need for medical continuing education, not only to meet the needs of the individuals in the Jacksonville area, but when I became chair, to actually expand that to the entire country.
Very good. So let's get into this year's conference, as you said, the 21st. And you have some great speakers and topics for the microbiologists, the medical technologists, other healthcare providers, and scientists. Can you tell my radio and website audience, what's the itinerary? What do you have scheduled?
Well, it's a potpourri of infectious disease topics, starting with laboratory automation and digital microbiology in the clinical lab, gram stain interpretations, impact of key CDC healthcare-associated infection outbreak investigations, and then that would be on Friday evening, and then Saturday we begin with clinical laboratory parameters of sepsis, the overuse of antibiotics, new mycobacteria diagnostic tools, looking at molecular microbiology in 2014, best practices and test utilization. We conclude with clinical cases, fungal puzzlers, clinical challenges.
Well, that sounds great. And you have expert speakers from around the country, I take it.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Great. All right. And we were talking about continuing education moments ago. Now, Florida is a state that requires licensure for many professions.
Yeah.
Will the symposium fulfill any of the requirements for CEUs for the clinical laboratory scientists, nurses, physicians?
All the above, including pharmacy. And consultant pharmacists on Saturday.
Great. That's good news. Okay, now if someone is interested in learning more about it, do you have a website where they can find out registration info, hotels, the itinerary?
Absolutely. It's www.firstcoastidcm.com.
Outstanding. Well, like I said, on February 14 and 15 in Jacksonville, Florida, there will be the 21st Annual First Coast Infectious Diseases Clinical Micro Symposium. And I've been talking to the president of First Coast. It's Dr. Diane Halstead. Thank you, ma'am, for taking the time to talk to me today.
Oh, thank you very much.
You bet. Have a great day.
Goodbye.